Hello everyone and welcome to Monday's edition of the vlog. Now I hope you had a fantastic weekend because we've been flat out here, and I always say this, but this time it's for a different reason. That's obviously, if you haven't watched the last vlog, we've had our baby and his name is Jackson. So we've been very busy, very tiresome as well, having a newborn, having a toddler as well. So it's sort of working out how we go about this. Parenting is very rewarding and very stressful at the same time, but you wouldn't have them any other way, and you feel like a proud parent every time you see something different. So it's good to have that, and I'm waking up with a smile every day, which I always do, but it always seems to be a bit bigger now that we've got Jackson here. Mum and Bub are both fine, obviously, and I'm still here vlogging, so we must be doing something right. So for this episode, I want to take you guys in depth into how I do my breeding, as we're getting close to the pre-lay sheds, and obviously documenting a few things which I get a bit lazy with, and I don't write things down. It's all sort of up here, but I do have sticky notes laying around the computer that I do keep track of, especially pre-lay dates, because you can sort of work out when they're going to lay from that instance, depending on the species, of course, whether you've got a carpet python or you've got Antaresia species, because they're a bit variant there. So let's get into this, and we'll do a bit of an informative one today. So basically, when we're talking breeding pythons here at Cold Blooded Exotic Pets and Supplies, I plan at least a year ahead, which I know a lot of breeders do anyway, but for instance, with our spotted pythons, I tend to make sure that I feed up the female really well, and I know sometimes it can be frustrating because the female spotted that we have actually went off food for a little while, and it made it very frustrating in the fact that I wanted to feed her up, but I wasn't able to do that because she wasn't eating and just refusing everything. And I thought, it makes it hard when I want to put some really good weight on this female, but I can't because she's not eating. So to be able to work around that, there's a few things. It was adjusting the heat and just adjusting the environment, and of course offering different food items. So there's a few different things that you can do to prevent that from happening. But again, it's a wild animal. It's going to do what it's meant to do, and that's either it knows it needs to go off food for a certain reason, or it needs to go and just straight into food mode and eat because they know that the breeding season is coming up. So I'll get the female out and show you what the progression is now. And basically all I've done is I've fed the male and the female up quite well. The males tend to eat really well in my experience, compared to the females, but I've only obviously bred, this will be the first time for the spotteds. So basically what we've got here is, I'll give you a quick look at the male, and here's the male here. Now he's quite a chunky boy and quite active, and I've actually witnessed them a couple of times this week, and they're actually copulating, so it's good to see that they're still going strong. And I think the problem that I had last time was that I removed the male really quickly, but I'll gently grab her because she looks quite, as you can see from here, I'll get up a bit closer for you, so you can see that she's quite thick. Now I'm more looking around this area in here, because she's gained a bit of weight, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to weigh them because she's looking really big, and I normally go off look. And I know every breed is different in the sense of their breeding, and they like to document and all that sort of stuff, which I know I should probably do. But I found that the best way to do it is to read your animal and know what they're looking like before you start breeding. So I know that the male was bigger and obviously darker because that's the indicator for me. For these pythons, the female was lighter than the male, and the male's really dark. So I made sure that I put them together. It was around April, so I made sure that I fed them up and checked the environment to see how the temperatures were. So when it started to drop a little bit around that, from summer into autumn, it went and dropped a few degrees, and I thought, well, it's perfect to take them off the heat at night, just to sort of mimic that temperature outside, because the ambient temperature in the garage for us is it gets quite hot and it gets quite cool, so it's perfect. So what I did was I had that, took them off the heat at night, and then from there obviously kept introducing, and I think I pretty much introduced the male straight away, and they knew what to do. So it was a matter of giving them a little bit, and then they went straight into it. Saw a couple of locks and made sure I documented them just to make sure that they were actually doing what they're supposed to do, obviously. And I find the best thing to do is to take a couple of snaps and just say, look, this, especially with the phones these days, they've actually got the time and the date there. So instead of documenting, I've got a picture and it says the time and date anyway, so I'm essentially documenting anyway, so it's perfect. So from there, it was a matter of just keeping an eye on it. And I put them in on the 1st of April this year, and I witnessed them lock 3 days ago. So they're still, and they haven't been switched, moved around or anything. So they've been off the heat from June, July, and then they've been on top of an enclosure, which obviously the heat rises, but you've still got that the ambient temperature there to help them and stimulate that breeding season. So I pretty much feed them from January through to sort of April-ish, and then slowly go off the food. But obviously when I introduced them, I didn't feed. But everything else has been, I sort of stimulate that whole thing of making sure each species is sort of going in the same routine. So I'm not worrying about pairing carpets at a different time to the Antaresia or the Aspidides and stuff like that. So the other things that we have done is you can get another male and introduce it and sort of stimulate the male in a sense of fighting for the female, which I haven't done personally myself, but it has proved to be beneficial for other breeders. So it might be something that we look into the future anyway. But for now, the spotted seem to be going really well, and I'll give you a look at the womas as well, because I'll see what the difference is there, because you can actually notice a few things with the scale separation. So I'll touch on that next for you and give you a bit of a rundown on the womas as well. Now, womas are a funny one to me, because back when I first started keeping and breeding snakes, I really did not like woma pythons at all, and say what you will in the comments, but I just didn't like them. They look like I think the words that I used to describe them was pretty much a cheap imitation of a black-headed python. And I know there are different subspecies, but it was, you got your blackheads, which were around that $5.95 to $6.95 mark at the pet shops when I was getting straight into the breeding, and the womas were obviously about $200 to $300 cheaper. So you think, you know, are they really that good? But once I got into these and actually started keeping them a bit better, breeding them, they turned out to be one of the easiest pythons to keep and breed in the hobby, in my opinion. So what I'll do is I'll show you the female and explain to you the scale separation that you can see in the larger pythons, because it gives you a really good indicator of how many eggs you could potentially have. And obviously it does show you that they are gravid compared to, say, your Antaresia, where if they're not really showing that scale separation, you just don't know until they're obviously going belly up and doing the prelay and things like that. So we'll get I'll show you the male, because the male is still quite big in my opinion. Like, he is a decent boy. Like, he's pretty good. There's a good example there, and he breeds like no tomorrow. And I've noticed that pretty much every time this boy has been very, very good to me. He produces some really good babies, and of course breeds like a machine. So they're very food driven as well, so you just got to be careful of that bitey end at times, but he lets her know. And you can always sort of stimulate them a little bit. I've found that when you're in the tub and you see he's normally got his tail starting to wrap around the sort of lower third of the body of the female, and he's pretty much ready to go, but the female needs to, you know, sort of go, yeah, I'm ready to go. But all I do is I give him a little bit of a tickle, and it's actually quite funny to watch the spurs, and it's quite interesting as well, because he actually uses his spurs, gives her a bit of a tickle and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to watch and document as well. So you're constantly learning from these snakes, which is a great thing, of course. But I'll get the female out and I'll show you what I mean. I'm very careful with her. So you can see this lump here, that glorious bit here, like she's got, you can probably get over the other side better, so that there, that's all eggs in there. I won't hold you for too long, darling, because you look like you're pretty full. But yeah, she is chunky as, and you can definitely tell it could even potentially be. That's pretty much the go ahead. You know, I'm waiting for a pre-lay from her, obviously, but she hasn't really shown many signs of belly up at the moment, so it's a matter of just the waiting game now. But from there, it's a matter of getting the incubator ready, which all I've got to do is flick it on, put some water in, get my tubs ready. So I might even, on Thursday in the next vlog, I will show you how I do the vermiculite, how I do the perlite, stuff like that, get the tubs ready, because I did find some new tubs that I've got to set up anyway, so keep in mind for that. But I thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown anyway of how I put my snakes together and a few little tips and tricks sort of thing. But I'll cut it here and make sure I save some content for next Thursday. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the little informative thing there. We are launching James Bindoff's pilot episode for CBTV on Sunday, so keep an eye out for that on the CBTV channel, and I'll obviously post it on the social media groups and stuff like that. But until then, hope you enjoy your week. I'm going to be quite busy, but of course I'll always be here. Hit me up if you need to have a chat, if you need to learn, if you want to learn anything, I'm more than happy to help out where I can. Other than that, I'll see you on Thursday.